The Vegas Golden Knights have been on a tough stretch as of late, looking more like a bottom of the league team than an actual Stanley Cup hopeful. Will they be able to figure this out and turn it back around, or will they become the laughing stock of the league after trading away Marc-Andre Fleury? That's what we're going to be talking about today for the most part. I don't think this has everything to do with this off season or anything like that. Just a couple bad stumbles here as of late, and a couple other things that are in that. My name is John. This is the Sports Advocate, and as you can tell, today we're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights struggles as of late, what could have caused it, and how they can turn it back around and make their way back towards the top of the league or at least the top of their division. So what we're going to do here is we're going to shrink this on down, move me on over here real slow like that. There we go. So, like I said, Vegas Golden Knights stumble as of late. So let's get into it. One quick thing. There's not really a way for me to convey exactly what I want to put across without a PowerPoint. And if there's anything that you guys come up with, if you guys could put that down in the comments or anything like that, I just feel like I almost come off more as a teacher sometimes. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather this be a community thing than someone preaching at a choir, things of that nature. So, any ideas that you guys come up with or any critiques, feel free to put those in the comments. The like and dislike button does the same thing, tells me I need to improve. I will keep improving as much as I can. I appreciate anything that you guys leave down in the comments. I'm really trying to do my best. I'm very early on. This is only my first week, but I think I've already made improvements and I have a lot of ideas for how to continue to improve. So let's now get into this. What's been going on lately? So they're on a 4-game skid. Actually, it is now a 5-game skid. When I wrote this, I had planned to record this and release it before the game yesterday. So some of these numbers are slightly different. So let me just bring this up real quick. Last night, the Vegas Golden Knights played against the Winnipeg Jets, a loss 3-7. So just I didn't include that game, obviously, because when I wrote this, it hadn't happened yet. So some of these numbers are slightly off now if you went by actually when this is released. But if anything, the numbers would only have got worse statistically. So it would just only further prove my point. I'm not going to worry about going through and changing it all. But I will say Vegas Golden Knights are now on a 5-game skid instead of a 4-game skid. But we're just going to kind of act like that game didn't happen for the numbers as of now. So they're in a 5-game skid. They won 9 of the last 20 games. They've also only had 15 wins in the 2022 year so far, with 33 games total being throughout this entire year. So they're winning under half of the games. They've also only won 6 games since the All-Star break, with, I believe, 15 in total since then. So that's not a good statistic. I can actually count that real quick just to check my number. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 18 actually. My apologies. So now 18 games since the All-Star break, only winning 6 of them. That is not a good statistic at all. That's looking at 1/3 of games are a win. And that's nothing you want to see, especially from a team that was as competent as a team as Vegas was early on in this season. And especially based on how they played last year. They definitely had a lot of capabilities last year, and you were hoping to see that turnover pretty well. And it looks like as of late, it's kind of fell off. But I think there's still a chance to pick everything back up, get it back in the luggage tote, and go right back at it. Start traveling, go win those games like you need to. So some of these biggest issues that we have had as of late is the minimal scoring and the abundance of goals against us. Oftentimes, early on in the season, the Vegas Golden Knights were scoring over 3 points almost every single game. They're one of the best in the league for the goals per game. And they've also gotten worse, digressed in the goals against. They used to be somewhere around just right around 3, pretty confidently below or just barely over. And as of late, it's got worse and worse. And that's a big problem. You're not going to win games if you're not scoring goals. You're definitely not going to win games if you're letting them score goals. So I got some numbers that I calculated. Like I said, they're a little bit off now with the game from last night, but I'll run through them real quick. So on the season, 188 goals for the Vegas Golden Knights, 182 against. So we're just barely over 500 for goals against, which is not a good thing. That leads us at +6 on the entire year. If you go for plus minus, I know that's kind of a topic that lots of time is argued just because of the statistic. But when you're strictly talking about the entire team instead of one player, I do think it's a useful stat. So I will be using that a little bit just to kind of discuss what's been going on as of late. So for the entire season, the Vegas Golden Knights are averaging 3.1 goals per game. That is 14th in the entire league, and that's for the entire season. Start all the way up until now, excluding last night's game, of course. So that's 14th in the league. Since the 2022 year, in the past 33 games, they're now averaging 2.82 goals per game, which if you were to put them in the standings as of now with how it's all set up right now, they would be 23rd in the league for goals per game. Definitely not something you want to see from your team or really any team that has a hopeful chance of making the playoffs. And even worse for the Vegas Golden Knights, since the All-Star break, the Vegas Golden Knight has averaged 2.44 goals per game. That is last in the entire league. That is not going to get you anywhere, and you're not going to win very many games with that being said, especially with the amount of goals they're also letting in. So, like I said earlier, 182 goals against this season. That is 2.98 goals per game against the Vegas Golden Knights, which is just slightly better than their 3.1. Since the 2022 season or 2022 year has began, they have had 97 goals scored against them, which is 2.93 goals against per game, slightly better than their actual season average. But you got to think that the stat was better before 2022, and with 33 games being played, it's going to bring down that statistic. And especially with the since the All-Star game, 56 goals against since the All-Star game with 18 games, 3.11 goals against per game. That is not good at all. That is even worse than the goals per game for the Vegas Golden Knights on the entire year. So realistically, winning games at this rate is not very possible at all. So if we go look at our statistics real quick for the plus minus, as I brought up, they're +6 on the year. If we look at in the 2022 season, 93 goals for the Vegas Golden Knights, 97 for the opposition, which is -4 of the 2022 year. And if we look at just the All-Star game, it's 44 to 56, -12 since the All-Star game. You're not going to see very good news from that at all. If we're to look real quick at the difference in the league, we're just going to go -12. I'm going to go look at the difference. I'm going to scroll down here real quick. If we find -12, that's putting you at about 20th in the league for plus minus for the difference. That is not good at all. Easily out of playoffs. And right now, they are sitting at the wild card spot. So they're pretty much outside the playoffs right now as it is. If they lose another game and someone else wins it, they could easily get bumped out, especially with how close the Pacific and Western Division is as it already stands. Excuse me. So next up, what is causing it? There's a lot of reasons of what could be causing it. I think the major reason is the injuries, and we'll get into that. There's a lot of major injuries and a lot of people in IR, which is sad to see and pretty uncommon for most teams. Another thing is our goalies. We traded away Marc-Andre Fleury to the Chicago Blackhawks at the beginning of the league year, and ever since then, we all saw how great Marc-Andre Fleury was. But with his agent's release statement, I think that was in 2019-2020 season. Ever since then, the Vegas Golden Knights and Marc-Andre Fleury always kind of had um, oh, he's going to get traded. He's going to get released. That was always a talk. I'm kind of surprised that he even was on the team this past year. I'm very glad he was. I do prefer Marc-Andre Fleury over Robin Lehner. I think Robin Lehner is a great goalie in the league. I just think Marc-Andre Fleury, with his veteran ability and those crazy saves that he has, such as the one he had against the Toronto Maple Leafs the other year, just I think he brings a little bit more. But when we have Robin Lehner, we got to stick with him. So I'm going to stand by his side. But that is a big reason with some of these losses as of late, especially, for example, last night's game. Both of our goalies played. 7 goals were scored against us. 4 for one goalie, 3 for the other. I don't remember which one had 4 and which one had 3. I apologize about that. So I'm sorry, but we will be talking about the goalie stats a little bit from now and just talk about what kind of separation Leonard does have over the backups and what kind of influx of goalie presence we need to get back. The Vegas Golden Knights need to get back on the winning side of things. Thirdly, we have coaching. I've heard a lot of rumors of fans saying that we should fire the coach again. I don't know if it needs to come to that. Coaches just got to make some better decisions. There's definitely some lack of decision making and some missed opportunities, and I think that can easily be fixed. Everyone goes through some slumps. Everyone goes through some hot streaks. I see nothing wrong with Vegas Golden Knights going a little slump as long as they can figure it back out. So first thing, let's talk about the injuries. There's 9 players on the injured reserve, and that is a lot. That is 2 full lines, including defensemen and your center forward and left, and 2 forwards. I apologize. Obviously, they're not all starters, but just like, for example, 9 players is a lot of people gone, with a lot of these people being actually very important members of this team. So we'll run over it real quick. We got Matthias Janmark gone till February 20th. Braden McNabb is gone till March 3rd. Alex Martinez has been gone since November 11th. Robin Lehner got originally injured, returned February 9th, played 3 games. I think it was like all back to back. I think it was like 9th, 11th, and like 13th or something. He played all in February. Got hurt again. He's back on injured reserve, returning till March 6th. Wait, sorry. No, his last game was March 6th. Next up, we got Riley Smith. His last game was March 6th also. Ben Hutton, last game March 11th. Brett Howden, last game March 3rd. Max Pacioretty, last game March 11th. And Mark Stone, our captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, has been gone since, if I can get this, February 8th. So there's a lot of very important players on this team who have been out for long periods of time, and that's a big reason why the Vegas Golden Knights have been struggling as of late. Most of these players are due to return here in the next couple weeks. Let me list off Matthias Janmark, Braden McNabb, Alec Martinez, Robin Lehner, Riley Smith, Brett Howden, and Max Pacioretty all have a possible return date of around March 17th. Ben Hutton has March 17th, and Mark Stone has March 24th. So here soon, Vegas Golden Knights should have a lot of their team back in with health, as long as nothing else comes up. But with how the game of hockey is played, I wouldn't be too surprised if some other people end up getting injured before everyone makes their way back. I sure hope not, but it's just how the game is played. And with how the year has been so far for the Knights, I wouldn't be too surprised if there were to be more injuries. So next up, we're going to be talking about goalies. We got Robin Lehner. He's been consistently out. I don't know if I'd agree with that statement of actually being consistently out. He's played 38 games this year. He's been injury report, I believe, 4 different times now, including IR. So for his 38 games, I'm going to compare him to some of the other top starting goalies in the league for games played. So Robin Lehner has 38. He's not too far behind some of these people. Marc-Andre Fleury, Vegas Golden Knights goalie last year, now in the Blackhawks, played 43 games this year. Jacob Markstrom played 46. Tristan Jarry's played 47. Andrei Vasilevsky's played 46. Jose Soares has 49 games played this year, and Darcy Kemper has 42 games played this year. So he's actually only somewhere around four to like 8 games behind a lot of these other people. But with that being said, he's also played quite a few weeks where he's playing like 75% of all games, which is why I believe he is getting injured and why I believe he has a higher games played. Currently, he has a shoulder injury, which I'm presuming he'll need to end up getting surgery on, which is not great news, but he will likely return from it. He's had similar injuries and returned just fine after. They just keep on being little nagging injuries, it seems, as of late. Robin Lehner's win-loss this year through his 38 games is 21-15. So he's not doing crazy good for his win-loss, but it's still better than most of our other goalies. You'd hope to see that pick up here soon. A lot of those games, though, you do got to remember you're putting Robin Lehner in the net in those very important games against those better teams, such as Colorado Avalanche, Minnesota Wild, Tampa Bay Lightning, people like those. So him having 15 losses is not as worrisome because he's playing those really good teams and he's still holding his own. He has a 2.77 goals against average, which is better than the entire year's goal against average for the team, and especially a lot better than it has been since the All-Star break, which he's played, I believe, one game, maybe 2 games since the All-Star break. And I think that's a big reason why Vegas has struggled with the goals against as of late. Next up, we're going to be talking about the backups and why it's kind of been a struggle with Robin Lehner out. I don't know why Logan Thompson's name is on 2 different lines. I do apologize about that. First up, we got Laurent Brossoit. He's 10-8 win-loss, so it's not bad. You'd hope to see him get up. But with last night's game, he's at 10-9, technically speaking, actually. He has 8.99 save percentage, and he is 2.78 goals against average. So he's only just barely 0.01 goals against average behind Robin Lehner. With last night's game, it would have been changed slightly, but not by a whole bunch. Just even with his better save percentage, oftentimes, especially as of late, if our team's not scoring, then it doesn't matter how good his goals is, just because of the plus minus, how bad Vegas Golden Knights have been as of late. Next up, we got Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson is 1-2 win-loss. He might be 1-3 now. I'm not sure since they were rotated in the middle of the game last night. He is a .909 save percentage, so that is much worse than Logan Brossoit and not much worse, much better than Brossoit, and he's just right around Robin Lehner. It's not too bad, especially if you compare it to some of the actual starters in the league. But the thing is, with him playing so few games, and oftentimes the team helps him a lot with getting minimal shots against him. So a lot of times they're blocking shots, keeping some tough shots out, and any shot that is going towards him is just some weak little wristers towards the center of his body. So that's why he has a better save percentage. He's a 3.11 goals against average. Pretty bad. I guess you could make up for it if Vegas were to be scoring as much as they do, because they often do score more than 3 points a game. But the last stretch here, they've been struggling with that. I think that both of these backups have the opportunity to be good assets when Robin Lehner is able to be in the net and they're rotating through. But when you have to have Brossoit as your starter and Logan Thompson as your backup, and they're playing heavy amount of minutes and games, then you're going to obviously see their percentages and goals against alter in a bad direction. You got to hope they get their feet underneath them here soon, and I think they can. I think Brossoit can definitely start helping this team a lot more than he has been. I'm just hoping to see Robin Lehner return fully healthy up here in the next few weeks here and stay on the ice. Coaching is our next thing. Sorry about that. There's been a couple problems here. I think the biggest problem lately has been the scoring, obviously, especially in the power play. They've been struggling to get the puck into the net. And also, as of late, I don't remember the exact statistic, but pretty much all of their goals have been in transition and not when they're actually inside the blue ice, which is never good news. You want to be able to move that puck around, get some nice behind the goalie. I'm not quite sure if you guys can see my mouse. I sure hope you can. Otherwise, this ain't going to make any sense. But oftentimes, the Vegas Golden Knights, they're getting their goals just coming up the ice and just shooting a quick wrister, quick slap shot, things of that nature. But they really need to start focusing more on the ability to pass it up here on the top, over here, and then get a quick one straight across like this, get behind the goalie, or the same thing on the other side. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe some movement behind. They seem to get very clustered as of late right around here. We saw that just a couple games ago. There's a good stretch of like 2 or 3 games where it was just a cluster. Pretty much all 5 defensemen on the other team would just be standing right here, and Vegas wouldn't be able to do anything because they weren't moving around enough. Another thing is the line mishandling. I think since Jack Eichel has started playing for this team after he came back from his surgery, I've seen him play with pretty much every line on this entire team. That can be a good thing, you could argue, especially with a new player trying to figure out where he fits in on the team. But it's almost worrisome sometimes because he'll play on every single line in every game, and you can just never really get a full grasp on the team and how your chemistry works if you're constantly getting thrown around like a little rag doll on the lines, especially with the goal struggles as of late and the win losses. You're going to see the line shuffled. I just think they're getting shuffled a little too aggressive, too fast sometimes in these early games. One thing, again, for the power play, Vegas has been struggling pretty decently as of late for the power play with when they're on the short end of it, because they just aren't able to pack up all their bodies and actually get in the way of some of these shots. They seem to be leaving somebody wide open at the backside of the net pretty often. And when they do finally get the puck, it seems to be that they're not clearing it as quick as normal. They're trying to like force an offensive shorthanded goal. I don't know if I like that. I think you just try to burn that clock up a little bit and get back to even strength. So let's look at this. The Vegas Golden Knights have 81. This is all for the full season. 81 power play points, which is not too bad. Their power play percentage is 17.6%, which is 26th in the league. Excuse me, and that's how likely they score when they are on the power play. They've also had 8 shorthanded goals. You love to see those shorthanded goals. I think as of late, they've been really trying to force them, and that's why I think some of these are getting in the back of the net when they are on the penalty kill. But it's very exciting when you get that shorthanded goal. It swings the momentum very fast, so I understand the thought process behind it. I just think they might be pressing a little too hard. Vegas is currently 18th in the league in the penalty kill at 79%, so just outside of the top half of the league. And then finally, not quite finally, time management is a big thing that I think is been an issue as of late. Seems like some lines are just getting a lot of minutes, and that's going to happen when you have a lot of injuries. But I'd hope to see a little bit more rotation. And I think sometimes in these close games, It seems like the coaching staff is waiting either too long or pulling way too early on the goalie. And I know it's a very touchy subject on the goalie. Will it actually help? Will it not help? But I just think that sometimes it's unnecessary how early they pull him. They're not really defending the open net very well. They used to always keep somebody on about the middle or blue line so they could rush back and try and defend it. As of late, it seems like there's no one over the top and they're just sending pucks down to the empty net. Another thing is a lot of times in these close games, I've been seeing that there's a power play. I know Jack Eichel had a power play goal not too long ago, but pretty soon after, I think it was the next game or maybe the game after, they had a power play. There was like a minute left in the game, and they ended up Vegas ended up pulling their goalie well on a power play to try and do a 6-4 advantage, and ended up with an empty net goal, and then just took them out of it anyways. And I don't quite know what the thought process was in that, just because with how much they've been struggling as of late to score goals, I think when you add that sixth person, you're just kind of confusing people, especially when they've already been struggling as of late. People don't know where to really go, where to stand. You're just kind of blocking your own team's shots. So I think in that circumstance, when you're already on the power play, just keep your goalie in net so you're not causing more confusion for yourself and then offering that empty netter. Another thing, goalie rotations. Oftentimes, this team doesn't know when to pull their goalie in those games where there's been 4 or 5 points scored very quickly in the first two periods. He just keeps the goalie in. I know sometimes you want to build confidence, prove, hey, I trust you as my goalie in net, but I just think sometimes it's better to pull him and see if the team can get it back together with the other goalie in. It doesn't always work. Oftentimes it ends up not working, but just the ability to take the chance, I think, would very much help. And lastly, is the players, whether that's injuries or just not working hard. It seems like oftentimes, especially when you're playing so many minutes with a lot of people injured, some of these players are kind of slacking late in that third period. Vegas used to be, for a long time, pretty much since the beginning of the entire career of the team organization, they've been one of the best teams in the third period, oftentimes coming back. But as of late, it's been the complete other way around. They're getting outscored by desperately bad amounts, double, triple, and they're just not finding a way to go win. And it's just because people are getting tired, and you're going to get tired when you're playing so many minutes. You just hope that they kind of find that fight when everyone gets back on the ice and they kind of figure it out as a team. I think everyone is very capable of going and winning in this organization. They just got to find out what it is that they have to do to get that mojo back as a team together. How can it be fixed? That's going to be the final question here. A lot of people I heard were saying coaching change. I really don't think that that is necessary. I think the coaches have done a great job with this team over the past year or so, and I think they will continue to do so once people get healed. I know it seems like a train on fire, but I think that once everyone gets healthy, the coaches are going to figure out how to use people the proper way, especially with Jack Eichel on a fully healthy team. I think they're going to figure it out. Next up, trade deadlines coming up here. I think next Monday. You might be saying Vegas needs to go get a trade. I've been one to think that too, but you got to consider the cap casualties that would occur with that. Vegas is already almost 10 over the cap, which is not good under any circumstance. You're oftentimes doing a healthy scratch on players just to keep under the cap. So I think if you want to do any cap moves, you're going to have to find a way to release some money, whether that's trading a more expensive player for just some picks or something of that nature. I'd love to see some people get brought in at the trade deadline. I don't know if it's possible with the way that the cap is set up now. And I do understand that's why Marc-Andre Fleury got traded, was because of the cap. Although if there were to be trade, I would hope for it to be goalie. And personally, I would like to see Marc-Andre Fleury back because he is my favorite goalie, but I don't see it being possible at all with the way the cap has been set up as of late. And I think that, sadly, I do think the Vegas made the right choice in clearing Marc-Andre Fleury off of the cap, even with me being a huge fan of him. Maybe you could argue they should have got rid of Lehner, but with Marc-Andre Fleury being older and only having 1 year left on his deal, it made the most sense. And then lastly, how can it be fixed? Healing. Everyone just March 17th here. A lot of players are most likely to come back in these next few weeks. We should see a fully healthy team as long as no more major injuries happen. And I think this team can easily figure it out, turn around, and get back on the right end of the stick. You got to remember they're still positive win-loss record, even with this most recent skid. So there's really no reason to really start panicking unless you get to like a 10-game losing streak or things of that nature. It hasn't been very good lately. Some games it's felt like I'm watching AHL instead of the NHL, but there's always going to be teams that are skidding, and you got to remember one thing. Everyone says it every single year. The Stanley Cup playoffs all come down to whichever goalie is hot. That's what happened with Carey Price last year, and it's going to happen every year. If your goalie gets hot, if we get Rob Lehner back and he starts going crazy, he gets some very 1 goal against, 2 goals against consistently, shutouts, things of that nature, they're going to be just fine. It's always about which goalie gets hot. The team's got to get back on the right side of the scoring. But as long as the goalies can keep it together, this team has nothing to be worried about. So that will be the end of the video. Thank you for sticking through with me. I appreciate it. I know this is probably a longer video and is my first video on anything other than football. So I appreciate if you stuck through. I know I kind of tripped on my words a little bit here. I'm losing my voice a little bit with the NFL free agency. I've been on this computer nonstop doing reports, and I kind of wanted to get out of the NFL space just for a little bit. And I figured with the Vegas kind of struggling as of late, that could be a decent topic for me to cover. I've been trying to make improvements, as I said at the beginning. I made my first thumbnail for last night's video. I have another one for this one, and I think I got progressively better from the first one to the second one. I really do like the thumbnail on this video, and I think I'm getting better at talking. I know I talk a little fast sometimes, and I'm trying to work on that. I hope that there is someone that can give me a good idea of what I can do to kind of spice up video for keeping out of like PowerPoints nonstop. But I do think it does a good job at allowing me to get my point across and make it easy for you to actually understand what's happening. And I just don't really think that my face needs to be all up in your face the whole time. And I understand, especially with sports, oftentimes you're just putting me or anyone else that you watch in the background instead of actively watching. So if you did do that, go ahead and leave a comment down below saying any criticisms. Go ahead and say, like, I just listen to you when you're in my pocket, things of that nature. Just give me a little bit of tips, give me a little bit of boost and what I can do to make this better. I want to make this as pleasant of a viewing experience for you, and I want to make this a good, strong community. I appreciate anyone that is sticking through my videos, especially in these early stages. They're not going to be perfect. I feel like I'm taking good steps to get better at it, and I hope that I can continue to grow and get better. I love to see this somehow turn into a bigger community. I know that's everyone's wish on YouTube, but this has been something that I've always wanted to do, and I have a passion for sports. I have a passion for teaching people and communicating with people, and I think this does a good job at intermixing them. So my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Thank you all for watching. Go ahead and leave a like or a comment, even a dislike if you so wish. Give me some criticism down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.